Grade 8, Quiz 8, The Learning Curve. David Sedaris is a successful novelist and satirist who's often heard on National Public Radio's This American Life. In the chapter entitled The Learning Curve from his autobiographical book Me Talk Pretty One Day, Sedaris relates events from his initial foray into teaching. Paragraph 1. A year after my graduation from the School of the Art Institute of Chicago, a terrible mistake was made and I was offered a position teaching a writing workshop. I had never gone into graduate school, and although several of my stories had been Xeroxed and stapled, none of them had been published in the traditional sense of the word. Like branding steers or embalming the dead, teaching was a profession I had never seriously considered. I was clearly unqualified, yet I accepted the job without hesitation, as it would allow me to wear a tie and go by the name of Mr. Sedaris. My father went by the same name, and though he lived 1,000 miles away, I liked to imagine someone getting the two of us confused. Wait a minute, this someone might say. Are you talking about Mr. Sedaris, the retired man living in North Carolina, or Mr. Sedaris, the distinguished academic? The position was offered at the last minute, when the scheduled professor found a better-paying job delivering pizza. I was given 2 weeks to prepare, a period I spent searching for a briefcase and standing before my full-length mirror, repeating the words, "Hello, class. My name is Mr. Sedaris." Sometimes I'd give myself an aggressive voice and firm, athletic timbre. This was the masculine Mr. Sedaris, who wrote knowingly of flesh, wounds, and tractor pulls. Then there was the ragged bark of the newspaper editor, a tone that coupled wisdom with an unlimited capacity for cruelty. I tried sounding businesslike and world-weary, but when the day eventually came, my nerves kicked in and the true Mr. Sedaris revealed himself. In a voice reflecting doubt, fear, and unmistakable desire to be loved, I sounded not like a thoughtful college professor, but rather like a high-strung 9-year-old. My first semester, I had only 11 students. Hoping they might view me as professional and well-prepared, I arrived bearing name tags fashioned in the shape of maple leaves. I'd cut them myself out of orange construction paper and handed them out along with a box of straight pens. My fourth grade teacher had done the same thing, explaining that we were to take only 1 pen per person. This being college rather than elementary, I encouraged my students to take as many pens as they'd like. They wrote their names upon their leaves, fastened them to their breast pockets, and bellied up to the long oak table that served as our communal desk. Paragraph 5. All right then, I said. Okay, here we go. I opened my briefcase and realized that I never thought beyond this moment. The orange leaves were the extent of my lesson plan, but still I searched the empty briefcase, mindful that I had stupidly armed my audience with straight pens. I guess I'd been thinking that without provocation, my students would talk, offering their thoughts and opinions on the issues of the day. I imagine myself sitting on the edge of the desk overlooking a forest of raised hands. The students would simultaneously shout to be heard, and I'd pound on something in order to silence them. "Whoa, people," I'd yell. "Calm down. You'll all get your turn, one at a time, one at a time." The error of my thinking yawned before me. A terrible silence overtook the room, and seeing no other option, I instructed my students to pull out their notebooks and write a brief essay related to the theme of profound disappointment. Number 1. When the narrator says I had stupidly armed my audience with straight pens, he means A. that his students won't agree to make a bulletin board with the leaves and pens, B. that the straight pens ended up having no practical purpose, C. jokingly that his students might attack him with the pens, D. that he should have considered using a different kind of pen. 2. In paragraph 3, the narrator describes the scene of standing in front of the mirror in order to illustrate A. how he tried to experiment with different teaching personalities, B. how well prepared he was for teaching, C. how he tried to practice sounding more aggressive, D. how he wanted to make sure he looked professional for his first day teaching. 3. In the second paragraph, the narrator says, like branding steers or embalming the dead, teaching was a profession I had never seriously considered. He does this in order to A. Explain how many other unusual jobs he has tried. B. Indicate he thought teaching was a serious profession. C. Show how little thought he had given to becoming a teacher. D. Emphasize how he does not take life seriously. 4. Which detail from the text supports the claim that the reality of teaching was very different from what the narrator thought it would be? A. The position was offered at the last minute when the scheduled professor found a better job delivering pizza. Paragraph 3. B. I was given 2 weeks to prepare, a period I spent searching for a briefcase and standing before my full-length mirror, repeating the words, "Hello, class. My name is Mr. Sedaris." Paragraph 3. C. They wrote their names upon their leaves, fastened them to their breast pockets, and bellied up to the long oak table that served as our communal desk. Paragraph 4. D. I guess I'd been thinking that, without provocation, my students would talk, offering their thoughts and opinions on the issues of the day. Paragraph 5. Number 5. Which central idea is best supported by paragraph 2? A. In order to succeed, it is necessary to fully prepare. B. One should not take a job for the wrong reasons. C. Teaching is one of the greatest professions in the world. D. It is important to follow one's dream. 6. How do paragraphs 5 through 7 develop a central idea of the learning curve? Use at least 2 details from the story to support your response.